Hey everyone, this is Chad with Jumpin' Jacks. I do not work for IO. If you don't know me, I don't work for IO, but I make videos from time to time to help people understand it, and in return, I learn more and more to run my own business. So today I want to talk a little bit about statuses because we're going to use this in another video for dashboards and stuff, and everyone can use different statuses based on the flow of your business. IO starts you off with these statuses here, and you can find them in settings, lead statuses. Most of these are pretty self-explanatory. Canceled, obviously, the job got canceled. Partials means they partially came in. Partial is like if only works if you have the WordPress checkout that you're using, which most people probably do. They only fill out one or two sections. IO captures that information before they submit the quote. And if they don't submit the quote within a certain amount of time, it creates a partial in your account. This is the equivalent of abandoned cart email that you want to set up, campaign setup. Quotes, new quotes, holds is anything. It holds the inventory for any leads that might have a longer time to book, due to having to get different approvals and stuff like that. Contracted, this is the one that I think most people in the beginning struggle with, and this is what I want to talk to you a little bit about right this second. By default, at least it used to be, contracted holds inventory and just stays there. Okay, it holds the inventory. You send the contract, and there's a lot of problems with that. So if you send someone the quote and they say, reserve my event or reserve my equipment or whatever that button is, and they go to the contract page, but they don't sign or pay for it, they're still in contracted. It holds your inventory, and then your inventory is just in limbo. So that means other people can't book it. If you're doing auto booking, that's a big problem. So I believe IO has added a automation, but I don't know if it's on by default or not. But an automation where it downgrades your contracted down to quote after 24 hours or something like that. That way, you're not holding equipment. I like that idea. That's the approach I use, because if I downgrade it, I send an email and a text, and it says that creates scarcity, and we always get people to come back and book their events that way versus just forgetting about them. So that's my favorite method. The other way is you can go into lead settings on your contracted tab and just uncheck the box that says reserve for this reserve equipment for this lead. The problem with doing that is if it doesn't reserve equipment for your lead, then you can't manually override whatever might be blocking quotes from getting to that stage. So if you decide to go that route and you want to override some barrier to auto booking, because a particular person, they live outside your zone, whatever the reason is, if you send the contract, it's not going to let them. Or if there's a conflict and you want to book anyway, regardless of the conflict, like say your inventory doesn't have enough popcorn supplies, then the default way, you can just send the contract, they sign and pay. Without that, they won't let them do anything. So that's the barrier with this. Now, like I said, I would activate that downgrade automation if you're new, and then you can work on the other way. But that creates a scarcity deal, and I like that way. But first come, first serve is also a valid way of doing it. So I don't want to push people one way or the other. Just know the limitations of that status. All right, but as you grow, or if you're already bigger, this may not be enough for you, and this is marking out your lead flow, and also kind of gives your employees an idea of where you're at. If you're a solo operator, this is where I'd stay, right here in this element. Don't overcomplicate it. If you have a sales team, you're probably going to want a little bit more. So this is how we do it, and this is not the way to do it. There's tons of other ways I've seen. This is just what we have. So we have the partial, that's abandoned cart one. This is a new inquiry. Now, the reason I call it a new inquiry and not quote, because not everything that comes in here is a quote. Sometimes they're chat forms. Sometimes they're landing page forms. Sometimes they're Google Ads forms. Sometimes they're Facebook forms. All that stuff comes in here, and then we can deal with it from there. Now, we go to contract sent is our next status. So we don't ever send a quote. We always send the contract first. I say we don't ever. There are times that we do, but that's not the norm. So when we send the contract, we mark it to this status. It holds the equipment for 24 hours and automatically downgrades. But we don't go downgrade. We don't call it downgrade anymore. We call it contract expired. So then it moves to the next step. It's contract expired. This is important because we're going to build out in another video dashboards to help our sales team understand what should be done at each stage in the pipeline, and some other stuff as well. Now we have the hold one. This is for anything that takes longer. So if we send a contract and they say, I got to wait, we have a meeting on Monday for approval, then we may move it to the hold status so that we put a note in there saying, hey, follow up on Monday. That is, or whenever the meeting is. So then it holds the contract, because usually this is reserved for larger bookings. So a $200 bounce house, I'm probably not going to do that for. But a $2,000 job, I'm probably going to move to hold, and I don't mind waiting a week to book it because, or two, whatever, up to you, your discretion on that. Once it goes down to signed expired or contract expired, we have a dashboard and some automations that run, but it's no longer a new inquiry. This is an old inquiry that we're doing. So this could be broken down into hot leads. So they're very responsive. They just need more information. It could also be that they're cold and they're not responsive and they haven't responded for a long time. Then we go to signed needs retainer. So this means that the contract, we don't require a deposit for everything. We call them retainers, but we do for several events, and more as we grow, where we are requiring them. And so what happens is, I'm not saying this is the way to go. Okay, this is just how I do it. So when we say a customer needs to pay a retainer and they sign it, then it goes to this one. Now this triggers a whole different set of emails and automations and dashboards so that our team can follow up and capture that retainer. And then once it's over, the contract signed can skip to confirmed, or the signed needs retainer can go. So here, if you're doing if you're not going to downgrade, you just want to go to contract sent, I would definitely downgrade whether you hold equipment or not, because there's still scarcity and stuff in the downgrade emails and stuff. And you just tell them one way or the other. Oh, the other thing is if you leave it in this contract sent status and it's holding equipment and someone doesn't book, and so you reserve the equipment to somebody else, this is the big danger. And then the week before the event or the day before the event, oh yeah, I need to book that. They open that email, sign the contract. It's already showing available, so they sign it, and now you've double booked. Okay, so that's a big part of why we also downgrade it. I hope this is all making sense. I'm just kind of shooting from my hip on a lot of this. So then we go to confirmed, and this is where they've signed and they pay their deposit if there is one, and we send them onto our calendar. They're to be routed, all the things to move on. Customer pick us, we just want a different color. That's the only reason I did this, and I may get rid of that. Like I said, we're rebuilding this process. We have rain checks. That means obviously they want to they have to cancel their event and move it somewhere else. Complete is after the event's over and we've done our post-event checks. We've sent the emails for the reviews. We've sent our warehouse guys have shoot, warehouse guys have done their checks. You could also set this up where this is complete, like the event is over, and you want your warehouse guys, if you're large enough, you want your warehouse guys to check equipment that's complete, and then you could add another one that says archived. So after surveys are filled and everything, you could move it to archived. Canceled, self-explained. Lost, so we move everything that was up here. Once the date is over and it's not a duplicate lead, we move it to lost, and that triggers another set of automations and emails and dashboards for it. This routing one, this is just so we can route a second truck, which isn't as necessary as it used to be with the new route planner, but we're still using it, so we are. And then donation requests, I separate that from my new inquiries because they're not really, this is for my money-making machine. This is freebies stuff. So I kind of hope that gives you a good idea of how to build out your statuses. Whenever I did it, I went through my workflow and I wanted to know, I try to define when my sales team needs to know the lead is at different statuses. So while this is all important and it helps your lead screen, add color and everything, you can scroll through here and see where people are at. The real power is going to be in the next video when we build dashboards. And this is where I'm currently working. So new leads, we'll have this stuff that we work on. And once that's 3 days old, it will decide if they're contacting us, then it'll go here and we'll just stay in contact with them. If they're not contacting us, then they become a cold lead and we're going to build out a bunch more. So that's it for lead statuses. I kind of hope that helps you guys out. What you need to do, let's go over, I guess we should go over the settings. All right, so let's go over the basics. New inquiry, you want to say all generated, customer generated leads and admin generated leads. Those are new deals. Okay, you got the partial. They're all pretty self-explanatory when you click through here. So you just think at each stage of these statuses, just go into it and decide what you want to happen at that status. So like this is the contract out to customer. That means that they are able to open the contract link. If you do not have that checked, then the contract link doesn't work and only the quote link does. We also reserve leads in the status. And we mark this auto book. I don't even know what that means, if I'm being real honest. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory. And then we come down here. So if confirmed, you decide what confirmed is. You have to mark it as the confirmed one. So we send confirmed events to QuickBooks. We do it to preset statistics and charts. This is very vague, so I'm not sure what that means exactly. And we reserve equipment once it's confirmed. It goes to our calendar. The workers' calendars go get it. Sales rep status to payroll summary. That one. Send leads in this status to be routed. Send contract book date. The reason I unchecked that one is because we use the payroll deal here for our employees. And if I uncheck that, if I have that checked, it sounds like a confirmed lead I'd pay out and they could cancel. And while I'm probably safe on that, because payroll and events generally happen, the events probably already happened by payroll. I don't want to accidentally pay someone for a canceled event. So, and then contract book date, if not set, when it is set to this, then we set the contract book date, because that means they signed and paid. Mark leads the status to the complete status after this. So you just go through and you just mark out whatever you want. So like this one here is customer pickup. So we did this, we just copied what we did already, changed the color. So that's it for lead statuses, real easy. You can make this as complex or as simple as you want. The larger your organization, the more sales reps you have, the more you may want to break this down, depending on the type of people. If you're doing residential, like I said, if you're doing residential, this simple flow works really well. But as you get into more corporate stuff and you have to have more information for different things, this is going to be a little bit better. And there may be a couple other statuses, but these are pretty good statuses here. All right. Well, as usual, that's the sum of everything. If you have any questions, you can always ask. I'm always willing to answer questions or try to learn how other people operate. And talk to you later.